Okay, so next topic is Super Tuesday. So for those of you who don't know what Super Tuesday is, it's the biggest election night in terms of deciding who the nominee is for each of the major two parties in the United States. So this is kind of where whoever is the nominee will most likely be decided. In some years, it's been contentious, but as you'll soon see, this year was not very contentious at all. So there was 15 states up for grabs, and then you win delegates, right? If you win the state, so each state has different rules on how exactly you win delegates. As in, some states you have to get 50%, and then you take all of the delegates. But if you get under 50%, then it's like kind of proportionally divided. Each state has their own rules. I'm not going to get into that, but anyways, like the more delegates you win, the more people you have to vote for you to become the nominee at each respective party's conventions. Usually by this point, it will become pretty clear who the nominee is. And we got a lot of clarity on Super Tuesday this year, where the only two remaining candidates left in the Republican side, Donald Trump and Nikki Haley, were vying for 15 states. And the results were kind of shocking, actually. Like I had like an idea of how the results would turn out, but uh, like even the actual results shocked me, even though it kind of went the way I thought it was going to go. So this is what I mean. So Donald Trump ended up winning 14 out of the 15 states, and Nikki Haley only won one of the states, which was Vermont. So Vermont is, the state where Bernie Sanders is from, and it's like New England. It's a pretty liberal place, so you would expect maybe people there to be a lot more moderate. Even the people who are, tend to support the Republican side, they tend to be a lot more like on the closer to the middle, right? So it wasn't a big surprise, I guess, that Nikki Haley, who's seen as the more moderate out of her and Donald Trump, it wasn't surprised to see Haley win Vermont, but it was a surprise to see Trump winning kind of the rest. And I guess the surprise part is not him winning, it's really by the margins that he won. So if you guys look at the docket, and I'll put the results for our audience. If you look at the margin, some of these states are just absolute landslide wins. So Alabama, Trump won by a 70% margin. And Alaska, 76%, Maine, 47%. Just some of the bigger ones, Oklahoma 66%, Texas 60%. Like these margins are just absolutely massive. And yeah, it's like and for Vermont, Haley only won by a 4% margin. So like it wasn't even that huge, especially compared to some of the margins that Trump won by. So my question to you is, now that Trump is the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party, and we're pretty much looking at a rematch between Trump and Biden. And by the way, like there was no like real competition against Biden, so Biden just clean swept everything. Yeah, we're basically looking at a rematch between Trump and Biden at this point. And Nikki Haley has dropped out of the race too, by the way. So yeah, Trump has no more challengers either. Now that we're looking at a rematch between Trump versus Biden, how do you guys feel about that? Are you guys kind of surprised by the margin that Trump won? Because I've been told that people in America are sick of this two choice system where they hate both Biden and they hate Trump, and they think that they're both bad candidates and they want a third party candidate. Well, it doesn't look like people want a third party candidate if Trump won by such a large margin. So like, what do you guys think? Where is there a disconnect, or what are your thoughts in general?
Just like a thought here. So what surprises me so far from the list is the very bottom, California. Um, Before I say anything, what's votes in NYT? And then I see that California has a 52% on that specifically. Because from what I can see so far, like California is a vast majority, like liberal like state, and then just the fact that they have like plus 61 Trump is pretty insane. But I just want to confirm my thoughts, you know.
Yeah, no. So it's votes in, and NYT is New York Times. So I got this from New York Times.
Ah, okay, I see.
That's like the NYT part is like kind of just like a logo. But it's the title is votes in, meaning that what percentage of the votes have been counted. So California, I think they closed their polls pretty late, and I took this screenshot maybe like the day after. So even after 24 hours, they still haven't finished counting. But because Trump won by such a large margin, like if you look at California, it's like he won by 61% margin, right? So like he was 61% above Nikki Haley. So he won such decisive that like they don't even have to finish counting the other half the vote, and they could already declare that Trump has won the election in California. So this just goes to show the kind of dominance that Trump has over the Republican Party. And like, people try to challenge him, and like kudos to Nikki Haley for even lasting till Super Tuesday, but it's like, it's no use, right? Like Trump is the Republican Party at this point.
Yeah, that baffles me for sure. I would like much like Vermont, I would expect California to like a more moderate approach in the political system, but the fact that even Trump triumphed over California, pretty crazy. And yeah, that's the one thing I noticed so far. It's like pretty much a landslide. Um, whether or not you guys down south do like it or do not like it, it seems like it's Biden and Trump, and that's just the way it is. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, okay. So the question was that I hear a lot of people complaining about the two choices, right? But given the like margins that Trump and Biden has won, and Biden basically went unopposed, so like he won like every state with like 90 plus percent margins. So it's like do people really want a third choice, or is it just the people who are super loud that like are complaining really loud online, but maybe there's not that many of them, right? Because it seems like everyone on the left still wants Biden and everyone on the right still wants Trump.
I think on that front, I think that it's pretty clear to me that Trump is still a favorite of the right. I think that's pretty clear. I think the Republicans definitely like Trump. The Biden side, I think that that one may just be the fact that he is an incumbent president. So he's already there, he's already in power. And in the past, usually incumbent presidencies are able to stick around for a second term more often than not. And at the same time, it could just be that a lot of people aren't voting in this selection between Biden and alternatives, or that there just wasn't an alternative that they thought had a chance, even though Biden is clearly, or at least it's clearly to me, Biden is clearly not the best candidate for the job. Problem may be that there isn't another clear potential candidate for the job who would be capable of taking over from Biden. Or maybe the Democratic caucus basically is preventing a different candidate from moving up. And it's like everyone got to go work together or we're going to lose, blah, 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 blah. Vote strategically, all that stuff. So it could just be something to that effect. I think it's pretty clear to me that Biden is not really a peak choice at this time. But maybe people disagree with me. I just can't see his mental health, or not like his he's really old. I don't know how to say it other than that.
Yeah,
like
so
I can't remember anything.
the poor man. let him
like
retire.
Mental, right? Like it's not even just mental health; it's like physical health as well, right?
Yeah.
So like I've
I'm like,
seen a video of Vivek Ramaswamy, who was one of the Republican candidates, and he's kind of a young guy, right? He was like walking on ice because it was like snowy when he was campaigning in Iowa, and he was being interviewed like as he was walking to like a meeting or like a rally or something, and then he slipped on the ice and he caught himself at the last minute, so he didn't fall. But I'm just thinking, like, if this was either Biden or Trump, like that might be an event that like changes the entire world if they like just fell on ice, right? Like, I'm not wishing anyone any bad like things to happen to them, either Biden or Trump, but I'm just saying, right? Like, we got to be realistic where we're at the point where if the president or whoever's running for president, whether it's like Trump or Biden, whoever wins at this point, if you just have like some ice and they slip on it, like that could be a world changing event, right? I'm just saying. So yeah, I think I don't know how to like interpret this, like, because yeah, I see a lot of people online complain that like, oh, why do we only have Biden versus Trump again? Like, it's two bad choices, but then it doesn't seem like any third party candidate is getting any support. So I did see another rumor though that because Nikki Haley decided to fight Trump all the way till Super Tuesday and pretty much dropped out when it was like very assured that there was no pathway forward for her. But even when she dropped out, she refused to endorse Donald Trump. And this kind of sets her apart from most of the other Republican candidates, right? Like Vivek, Ron DeSantis, Tim Scott, they all endorsed Trump after they dropped out, but Nikki Haley has refused to do so. So this has sparked some rumors that maybe she's gonna like mount a third party challenge to him. So there's rumors that maybe she's gonna work with RFK Jr. Or maybe she's gonna work with Dean Phillips, who's like one of the congressmen from Minnesota who mounted a campaign against Biden from the Democratic side, which unfortunately he didn't get that much support either, and I think he dropped out as well. So like maybe what if there was like some sort of amalgamation between RFK, between Nikki Haley, or between Dean Phillips, like any combination of them? Do you think that would mount a viable challenge, or even if it's not a viable challenge, could it disrupt the field, right? Like if they won 20% of the vote, like that might not be enough to win the whole election, but maybe it could disrupt things. So like, what do you guys think of that idea?
The Avengers of politics. Nah. Well, I mean, like if they group up together, possibly. Was it? I didn't watch like Avengers specifically, but they collect all the stones and they find different scenarios to maybe take them out. Maybe there's a small percentage that they may actually take them out, but I guess the big two are hard to take out too as well. It's hard to say, but yeah, possible Avengers meetup maybe.
Are you saying Trump is Thanos and Biden is like Ultron or something?
Yeah, they're super mega villains or heroes, however you want to perceive them as. But yeah, pretty much.
Tristan, what do you think?
I think it's pretty clear that it's very difficult to create a successful third party, particularly in the United States. Everyone seems to just kind of vote on their "I am blue, I am red" lines. So I think that creating a third party will probably just be a nothing burger. Nothing's going to happen. No one's going to vote for it. Everyone's going to vote for their little color and call it a day. So I'm not really expecting much. And then the other factor with that is that even if someone created a third party, they'd have to somehow find a spot that they can exist where they don't get framed as the worst aspects of either of the other two parties. Because if they go in the middle between them, which is pretty much the main spot, because if you go on either of the sides, you're going to be one of the extremes. You're either going to be a fascist party or you're going to be a communist party, and everyone's going to be mad about either of those, and no one's going to vote for them. So if you go in between the two parties, now you're a fascist and a communist party because they're going to throw both things at you, the worst aspects of either side. So I think that it's really difficult for there to be a third party, especially in the States. Like there's a lot of stuff they can throw at you, and I think it's been pretty clear from like past attempts to create an additional party, like for example like with Teddy Roosevelt, that got just engulfed by the Republican Party again anyway. So like what's the difference really? Like at the end of the day, it's going to be it's very difficult for you to actually have a third party come to life and be successful in this day and age. You would need a very, very charismatic leader. Like I think maybe Trump could have made his own party and had some success because he had such a fanatical following. I don't think Nikki Haley has even an inch of Trump's gravitas in that factor. So if she made her own party, she would have like 3 people and they're all family members. Like it wouldn't be a success.
So on that note, last question on this story, and then we got to move on. Do you think that given that it's going to be a rematch between Biden and Trump, do you think that Trump is going to win? That's the ultimate question.
Probably, to be honest with you. I think people are a little over with the North and South of North America of the left side, so maybe people want right instead. Only time will tell.
I think Trump is this because I honestly I don't even know if it's necessarily just because of people being done with the left, as Dom kind of was suggesting. I think it's more so because people are done with Biden because he's just such a I think that a lot of people were not happy with how Donald Trump ran things, but I think a lot more people are looking at Biden and just going, what are we doing? Because it's not necessarily Biden's policies that are as much of a bad thing. It's the fact that he really gives you vibes of someone who should be, very retired like 5 years ago. So like honestly, I feel like a lot of people will not vote for Biden purely for that reason. They're just there's the concern of if this man even makes it to the following election, if he even makes it through this term. And I think that's a big concern on a lot of people's minds. And I don't think that they have that same concern for Trump, even though Trump is also up there in age.
Yeah, and you know what? I totally agree with that. And by the way, this is not like me or any of us endorsing Trump, right? Like we literally have we're literally just concerned about the state of like if we're concerned about Biden's health right now, imagine that if he wins and he's going to serve another 4 years, and imagine what he's going to be like in 2028, right? So it's just like this is the argument that I think a lot of people who are generally supportive of the left, the left-leaning crowd, they have genuine concerns about this aspect as well, right? Where if they vote for Biden, does that mean that they're actually voting for a shadow government, right? Because if it comes to a point where Biden's no longer senile enough to serve his job, then essentially he's either gonna get replaced by Kamala Harris, who's one of the least liked vice presidents, which I don't even know how you get to that point because the vice president doesn't do anything. Like, how could you be so disliked when your job is nothing? But like that's a whole different story. But like, yeah, people are either gonna like think that they're just gonna vote that a vote for Biden is just a vote for Kamala Harris, which she's a lot less popular than Biden, and Biden's already pretty unpopular at this point, or it's just going to be a vote for these shadow staffers who are you don't even know who they are, and they're basically going to run the government, right? So and before you call me a conspiracy theorist, there is precedent for this back in the day, where if you guys, for those of you who know history, Woodrow Wilson who was the president during World War One, he suffered a stroke, and then during the latter half of his presidency, his wife was basically the president. So like what they would do is that like if they needed Wilson to sign something, they would pass it to her, and then she would bring it to him in his bedroom, and then come back out with a signature. And it was later proven that she was the one that kind of signed everything for him and directed policy using his name. So she was granted, like, regardless of whether she did a good job or not as president, that's not what the people signed up for, right? Like, people voted for Wilson, they didn't vote for his wife. So it was kind of like America was controlled by a shadow government for the latter half of Wilson's presidency. Essentially, I'm glad that it turned out well, but maybe like the next time we're seeing kind of something maybe similar potentially brewing with Biden, right? So this is a big concern. So I think for those reasons that Trump is probably going to win the next election. But again, I'm not endorsing him. This is just my thoughts.
Yeah, just to jump in there on that front, it's kind of like between Trump and Biden, it's like you kind of know what you're getting with Trump, because Trump at least seems like he's going to make it through the term. So we've had Trump in office before, things didn't fall apart. So
not completely.
But with Biden, who's going to be the unelected people who are going to be running the show after this man, finally succumbs? Like it's a lot. At least you kind of know what you're getting with Trump. With Biden, there's a little bit more variance because you don't know if he's going to make it. So you don't know if you're going to actually get what you originally signed up for.